Amina and Farouk had been best friends since they were kids. They grew up just 2 houses apart in their quiet neighborhood in Kaduna, Nigeria, and their families were close, often hosting gatherings where the kids would play well into the night. They shared secrets, swapped homework tips, and even attended the same primary and secondary schools. From the outside, everyone thought they'd end up together, but Amina had always brushed off the idea. To her, Farouk was like a brother, someone she could count on for anything. But as they started their final year in secondary school, something changed. It was small things at first. Amina noticed how Farouk looked at her when she talked, as if hanging on to her every word. He'd linger a little longer during their study sessions, eyes soft and voice gentle in a way that felt new. And she'd catch herself missing him during the times they weren't together. Her friends teased her, nudging her about their so-called perfect love story. They were convinced that Farouk was head over heels for her, but Amina kept brushing it off, laughing along but unsure of her own feelings. After all, it was Farouk, her best friend. Then came Ibrahim, the new boy. He arrived midway through the term, and his entrance was hard to miss. Tall and confident, Ibrahim carried an air of mystery that intrigued everyone. He'd moved from Lagos, a city Amina had only dreamed about, and he seemed to carry pieces of that bustling city with him in the way he dressed, his easy charisma, and his stories of a life so different from her own. Amina first noticed him during their literature class when he quoted a line from Things Fall Apart so perfectly that the whole class went silent. She admired the confidence in his voice, and as he spoke, she felt an undeniable spark. A curiosity that had nothing to do with friendship or familiarity. She found herself wanting to know more about him, about his life in Lagos, about what it was like to live in a place where the lights never went out. One afternoon, she was sitting on a bench reading under a tree when Ibrahim approached her with a smile. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. "Of course," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. The butterflies in her stomach caught her by surprise. They talked for what felt like hours, sharing stories of their childhoods and dreams for the future. Ibrahim's dreams were big. He wanted to study architecture in the UK, to build structures that would tell stories of his roots. He had a way of making her laugh, making her feel seen in a way she wasn't used to. With him, she felt excitement, a rush that made her heart race. Over the next few weeks, their friendship grew, and soon, they were sitting together in the library, working on math problems and talking about everything from music to future plans. Amina found herself looking forward to seeing Ibrahim, feeling a thrill each time he caught her eye across the room. Yet, with every stolen glance, she couldn't help but notice Farouk in the background, watching but never saying a word. Then, one evening, as Amina and Farouk walked home from school together, he cleared his throat and stopped, looking at her with an intensity she hadn't seen before. "Amina," he started, his voice filled with a mixture of vulnerability and resolve. "Can I ask you something?" She looked up at him, feeling her heart beat faster. "Of course, Farouk. Do you have feelings for Ibrahim?" he asked, his tone soft but filled with a depth of emotion that tugged at her heart. Caught off guard, Amina hesitated, unsure of how to answer. Farouk had always been her rock, her safe place, but Ibrahim had brought something different into her life. A sense of adventure, a glimpse of a world she'd only read about. "I don't know," she replied honestly. "Ibrahim he's exciting, but you, Farouk, you're my best friend. You're home to me." She saw the hurt flash in his eyes before he quickly looked away. "I see. Well, I want you to be happy, Amina. That's all that matters." Over the next few days, Amina's mind was filled with confusion. She found herself weighing each feeling, wondering what mattered more. The comfort of her history with Farouk or the thrill of the unknown with Ibrahim. Farouk had always been by her side, her constant, her confidant. But with Ibrahim, she felt alive in a different way, like she was discovering a new part of herself. As prom night approached, Amina realized she'd have to make a choice. Her friends were all pairing up, excited for the night ahead, and she knew that both Ibrahim and Farouk would be there. When she arrived at the venue, the soft glow of lights and the chatter of her classmates filled the air, adding to her nerves. She scanned the room, spotting Ibrahim talking to some friends, his laughter easy and infectious. Then she saw Farouk standing near the entrance, his eyes finding hers immediately. Farouk walked over to her, offering a small, hopeful smile. "Can I have this dance?" he asked, holding out his hand. Amina's heart swelled. She took his hand and they moved to the center of the dance floor. As they swayed to the soft rhythm of the music, she looked up at him, feeling the comfort and warmth she'd always felt with him, mixed with something new. A realization of just how much he'd meant to her all these years. Just then, Ibrahim approached them, his hands in his pockets, looking at her with a mix of admiration and understanding. He gave her a slight smile, nodding in acknowledgement of the moment. "Amina," Ibrahim said, his voice gentle, "you'll always be special to me, no matter what. I think I understand now." Amina nodded, feeling tears prick her eyes. She knew that what she had felt for Ibrahim was real, but she also knew it was different from the bond she shared with Farouk. There was excitement in the unknown, yes, but in Farouk, there was history, trust, and a love that had been there long before she'd realized it. As the song ended, she looked up at Farouk and whispered, "You're home to me, Farouk. You always have been." With a smile that lit up his face, he squeezed her hand. And in that moment, she knew she'd made the right choice. The thrill of something new had its allure, but the comfort of love built over years with someone who knew her soul was where she wanted to be. Later, as she stood with Farouk, watching the rest of the dance unfold, she realized that sometimes love doesn't have to be a grand adventure or a new experience. Sometimes love is just finding your way back to what feels like home.